Hey guys, welcome back to XIII-2, and today we are going to do our final quest roundup.
And by final quest roundup, we of course mean combat.
There's a couple quote-unquote regular side quests in there. But yeah, we're mostly going around and cleaning up all the fights and shit that we ignored.
This rain looks terrible.
Yeah, it does.
Large parts of this game look terrible, considering that they're part of Final Fantasy XIII. Because this game did not have the ludicrous artistic polish period that 13 had. Plus it's terribly optimized, so, you know. So yeah, this guy is just a straight up repeat of the guy in 13, isn't it?
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got about maybe 5 times less health, but yeah. Otherwise, he is identical.
And like with a lot of things, it would have been a bit more threatening if we'd fought him a bit earlier.
So, how many enemies here are you gonna say that we probably should have fought earlier?
A lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of combat in this game, being as it's a Final Fantasy XIII game, and the battle system is one of the few legitimately interesting things that they had to milk relentlessly. But a lot of it is like massively, fiercely ignorable, and also kind of dependent on a certain level of power.
I see.
So it's very easy to like skip past things and come back and everything's trivial. And that's even if you're not doing power leveling, which makes everything trivial anyway, because this game has no difficulty curve. And until it suddenly does, but I digress.
Alright, so, like I said, we do have a couple regular quests in there, like we did just grab the last Graviton core. Finally.
Even after she continues to pay for her mistake. My heart goes out to that poor girl.
Wait, what?
Alright, so, this is related to that. Do you remember the first time we did the Rubies of Grief and we unleashed some horrible monstrosity that we never actually fought?
Oh yeah, I commented on how dumb that was.
Yeah, this is the thing that it unleashed.
I see.
I mean, when I say I commented on how dumb it was, I mean both the Rubies of Grief side quest generally, and the fact that it unleashed a boss that we were just going to leave and ignore until... I mean, could we have fought it straight away?
No. This is something that you would have had to wait on, because this thing has like 1,000,000 HP.
That's incredibly dumb.
So no, you actually do have to work for this one.
Well, this one looks actually a little bit noteworthy.
Yeah, so straight out of the gate, yeah. Song of Ruin just basically does a random debuff to everybody. It is very irritating, and you definitely want Veil up for this fight.
Yeah, random debuff includes some of the actual nasty ones, like Pain.
Debuffs in general just tend to be annoying.
Well, it's a side effect of being in a game where debuffs are actually important, is that it means that they're annoying when they get on your guys. I mean, I guess poison isn't as, like, massively problematic for you as it is for enemies. That's just a matter of numbers scaling up, though.
Unfortunately, like I said, even with her fairly sizable amount of HP, this is still going to be a pretty easy fight.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, her health bar is going down really fast.
Oh yeah, there was some early staggering, and the threshold was high, but the resistance was low, so the damage was plentiful, and the numbers are many.
She does have one nasty trick up her sleeve, though, which we're gonna see for about 2 seconds before she dies.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a big reason as to why you have to do this later.
Just doom on everyone. Even the monster, just because fuck you.
What is Doom?
Doom is, when that runs out, you die. That, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So it's basically Perish Song from Pokemon.
With no way to cure it, yes.
And like, normally when 13 used Doom, it only put it on one person, but that one person was your party leader, and in 13, when the party leader dies, it's instant game over. So, in order to make it meaningful, they put it on both Sarah and Noel, because in this game you can actually change party leaders if the party leader dies. Yeah, or if the party leader doesn't die, you can just change it whenever. But yeah. Of course, then she also put it on our monster as well, which serves no real purpose, other than just to underline how much of an asshole she's being.
That's probably all the reason they needed.
Alright, so this guy wants us to go out and find a bunch of different colored shit. We found these ages ago, and I just never bothered to turn this quest in.
Oh yeah. I remember some bullshit thing about coloured stars. Also, what are the chocobos doing? Those are the chocobos, right?
Yeah, that's the chocobos.
Looks like it.
These are regular chocobos instead of the red ones, so instead of getting horrible screeching, you just get that little
This is the kind of thing that a game made by designers who actually gave a shit would have, like, happily just run with. They'd have allowed ridiculous AI-related shit to be happening in the background while two guys are having a serious conversation. Could have made it funny. But in 13 it's just a stupid thing that happens and is irritating. Also, is this guy still talking?
He's done, don't worry.
Like, I'm sure there might have been something meaningful in that barrage somewhere, maybe? I wasn't really paying attention.
Alright, so now we're going to the step. And, we're gonna start with the biggest and most obvious one that we missed.
Hello.
Hey, I remember these things. I bet they've been dumbed down a lot.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, this might be mildly entertaining. Is it at least gonna open with Ultima?
Yes, it will at least open with Ultima, if that makes you feel any better.
Okay, good. Some things are sacred. Better get shell out then. Okay, when I say is it gonna open with Ultima and you say yes, there was an implicit is it gonna open with not standing in place for 20 continuous seconds and then cast Ultima. I mean, like, come on.
Look, he's a big, slow guy, Fadul. He can't cast right out of the gate.
But magic is like a brain thing.
What do you think this is? A game that demands you be able to react to dangerous attacks on a split second?
I don't know, I kind of hope that they might have at least put a little bit of thought into how enemy spells work. I mean, given how much this game series likes data logging everything, you'd think there'd be a huge dedicated thing of, oh, do you have to be able to physically move to cast spells? Can you do it with your brain alone? I don't know. That would be interesting.
I was actually shitting on this game because 13 does just, like, flat out open with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the comparison part. That was one of the comparisons I was going for. I just thought it was a moderately interesting thing to be able to talk about. It's like, if you're gonna put all this stupid explanatory text into your game, you might as well flesh some mechanics out a little bit and talk about things that you can see happening, rather than some plot shit that nobody cares about, which is what they actually use it for.
The last time we did that, though, we got an explanation about how magic and leveling up actually comes from the crystal genesis inside of us. I'm not sure I want that either.
That sounds terrible.
A fair comparison.
So, this boss was in, like, the original 13?
Yeah, this boss is in the original 13, and he is,
Yeah, was a regularly occurring enemy, actually.
yeah, significantly easier to put it lightly. Or significantly harder.
Yeah, this one is significantly easier. The Longgui was basically the actual super boss.
And now you've just toppled him.
Well, no, this is supposed to happen.
Yeah, like this is like the way this fight is supposed to work, or at least how they talk it up, is like you got to topple it over and then it's vulnerable, and you got to do as much damage as you can to it while it's vulnerable. And it's all about like min-maxing your damage dealing strategy, so that you can deal a ludicrous amount of damage to it in the short time that you have before it gets up.
And then they gave it about 10 million less HP, and, yeah.
Because in 13, once it gets back up again, it will very rapidly fuck you up and you'll be back on the defensive, and you basically start the fight again. And they will fuck you up quite quick. So you have to, like, absolutely flawlessly fine-tune your fighting strategy to deal the absolute most amount of damage. It's basically the fight that makes you have to learn the system.
Well, it's not the fight, but it's certainly one of them.
So, this ain't that.
Yeah, that looked significantly easier than what you were just describing for 13.
This is just the thing with a lot of health. Not even that much health.
16 minutes.
How would that ever take 16 minutes?
I would also just like to point out that at this point in time, I actually have Sarah and Null 100% maxed out.
Cool.
So, they expected a fully maxed out party to take 16 minutes to kill a Longgui.
Yeah, reminder, the target times are not like hard-coded, they're actually generated based on the power level of your characters.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah. Maybe not such a clever algorithm after all.
Alright, so now we get another Seath.
Because those are always so interesting. And novel.
Well, maybe this one is, just a little bit.
Okay.
But, I'll just, I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop talking, and you let me know when you recognize this fight.
I recognize this fight. It's a very familiar form. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we had a couple of these guys, there were a few of them, but this is a very specific and a very special fight.
Do tell.
Yeah. Definitely remember this.
This is Vercingetorix. Again.
Just cause. Does he regenerate health as well?
Oh, you better believe he does.
Of course he does. So, if the whole thing is this transparently rehashed, are we just gonna cast poison on him and wait and be done with it?
No, we're gonna actually, beat the shit out of him, because this is... he has about 10 million less HP, so... we will be just sitting here and casting poison, but that's because we're just, going to get a full slate of debuffs on him.
Okay. So, this is a very 13-2 rehash then, when they completely defang and neuter it, and then just make it look similar and do similar looking things.
Yes and no. Don't get me wrong, this is a very 13-2 rehash of Versy, but it is threatening. He can still whip out a, what's his big tornado attack thing?
God, I can't remember.
But yeah, he can still whip that thing out with absolutely no warning, and, you are definitely going to want to have at least a sentinel or two on the field, or you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Are we gonna see that thing?
Wicked Whirl is what it's called.
It's kind of hard to remember the names of threatening attacks in the 13 series because, everything is so, completely ludicrous over the top, and also, animated in a way that they basically all end up being the same. It's a big attack that comes out in X amount of time and deals an amount of damage, and doesn't interrupt any other animations, has no special characteristics. There's never really very much to differentiate any of them. They're all just kind of dull and blend into each other. Although, to an extent that's a problem with all JRPGs. But, in a one that's already so boring, this is just another problem that it has on a big heap of problems. Oh well. At least Vercingetorix was actually somewhat of a engaging, interesting, dare I say, fun fight.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't even bother, putting a little qualifier on that. Vercingetorix is a really good fight. This is not. I mean, the fundamentals are still there, it's just, he doesn't do enough damage, and he doesn't have enough HP to make you really work for that finish.
Yeah, it's just like, the slightly watered down, fat-free version of all the feel-good and none of that, actual substance. Oh, here it goes.
Yeah, see, it can still fuck your day up if you're not careful.
It's not a total pushover then. It's a sort of, moderate to medium threat. Oh well. And hey, it actually did kill the Sentinel.
Admittedly, that was only because I switched to the Sentinel in the middle of the attack.
Yeah. Well, if you got a Sentinel monster, then you could totally have gone into Tortoise mode.
Yeah, I could have, but why would I?
I think one of the things I don't like about 13-2 is that because monsters only have one role, and you can only have 3 monsters in your Paradigm pack, that means that it's impossible to do the sextuple treble Paradigm deck. And that's a great loss. I'm really quite sad about that.
Unfortunately, you do kind of have to work with what you have.
I mean, it'd have been why couldn't we have had monsters that can have more than one role? Just for that purpose. I mean, we literally already have Ravager Lightning and Commando Lightning in our backup party. Right now, we have that. And yet we can't have one monster with 2 roles. That ain't right.
That's one of those things, that's a big part of why I was kind of disappointed with where they went in Lightning Returns. Which is not to say it's not a good game, but it's you could have taken, 13-2, for all its faults, does have a really good core of a system there. You could have expanded that in a bunch of cool ways. And instead they just totally threw the whole thing out and gave us Lightning Returns instead.
Yeah, well, it's still good. It's just different. I mean, at this point, I'll gladly take different over, iterated again and slightly better. Ultimately, you can't complain about Lightning Returns based only on the results. I mean, given what happened, I'd gladly not replace Lightning Returns with an iterated version of 13-2. But it certainly still allowed for the same breadth of variety, with its own unique constraints, because it's a different system. Now, speaking of iterated...
Oh man. Alright, so this thing is actually mildly scary? I mean, he's no Vercingetorix, but...
as much of an asshole as these things were in 13?
He can be. I mean, that sword isn't just for show.
I guess.
I like those panel things he's holding on his right side.
Oh yeah, they were an aesthetically interesting element on this when 13 came out 2 years before this game. I mean, this is half of the problem that we have with this, is that this is a rehash. The numbers have changed, the balance is a little different, but it's the same fight. It does the same things. The strategy is the same. I mean, but yeah, you know, for what it's worth, I agree, this is an aesthetically interesting monster. And I cared a lot more about that the first time I saw it. Again, this conversation might as well be Final Fantasy 13-2.txt. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that are Final Fantasy 13-2.txt that we brought up in this LP, but this can go on the pile.
So yep, that's the Immortal. And we even got a Chivo for that.
Oh, of course there's an achievement called Big Game Hunter.
Yeah, the Big Game Hunter is what you get for getting all of the monster fragments.
Big Game Hunter is one of the single most common achievement trophy names. I think it's actually the second most common behind Completionist. I'm sure I've seen numbers on this somewhere. I'm gonna poke into that after the video and maybe post them in the thread, because, you know, laughing at video games.
So, he drops a very, very good weapon for Sarah there.
ATB rate plus 50%.
Yeah, so
basically auto haste.
yeah, it's almost as strong as the one thing, as her Paradox weapons. But, you know, she gets 50% more turns, because fuck you, that's why.
Yeah, I'll take 50% more turns over some strength.
I could very easily make up the damage.
Right. I mean, it literally increases DPS, and this game is all about DPS.
So here we go, one final fight.
Huh.
The Rasputil is the Void monster for Erba 400, and
It has a lot of arms.
yeah, it's pretty much like I guess the best way to describe it is the hardest Seath in the game.
I was gonna say, this is a Seath with an actual new original design that we haven't seen before. Well, wonders never cease.
There's a lot going on visually with this guy.
I'll say.
Well, that's Final Fantasy 13.txt right there.
Like, you know, kind of looks a bit like you know, Lamia, which is a classic Final Fantasy enemy. Not exactly a Final Fantasy original enemy, but definitely a classic Final Fantasy enemy. Been in pretty much every game. It's just, it has wings.
So, hey, do you remember Orphan's gimmick?
Vaguely. Orphan's gimmick was that you can only damage him during stagger.
No, other Orphan. Other Orphan.
Ah, you mean the one where he can just be like, oh, no, fuck you, I'm not staggered anymore.
I was going more for the orb, like the light and dark orb, but yes, that Orphan. So, what he does is, when he activates that little light orb, he will summon Seath to help him in the fight. And at the start of the battle, you know, they're just like these little winged things, they're not really anything to fight with.
The kind that we slaughter by the hundreds in Academia.
Yeah, by the end of the fight, he'll just, like, casually summon, like, 2 Vladislaus to the field whenever he feels like it.
Still, that's a gimmick.
And then after a while, he'll kill whatever ones he have out, and then he'll absorb them, and then he'll use an attack, sort of like Nabat did.
I see.
You know, that's actually interesting. Like, it turns out that, you know, there's interesting shit that you can do with this system. I just wish they did that a bit more often. But, you know, I can totally give them credit for that. I'm assuming we're about to see that.
Maybe? I don't know. It might have been on my practice run of this guy. I don't think I'm actually going to show it. I think he's about to die.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, like, that can totally happen. You can have, like, 2 or 3 Vladislaus just running around while you're trying to fight this guy.
I can get behind, like, gradually escalating summons as a gimmick.
When done well, that could be a really fun fight.
Like, frankly, I'm astounded that they didn't do that in 13, given how 13 had the random weak summoner enemies that if you don't kill them all in 10 seconds will summon a fucking behemoth. Oh well.
And had I not already gotten it, we would have just gotten a Chivo for beating this guy.
Joy.
But yeah, that's it. That's all of our little errant quests. So next time, we are going to the end.